So how important do you think it is to pursue your hobby as a career, especially to people out here, to my audience who are sitting in a fence, as in they have this, the career which they really love doing, it's their passion, but then they know that it's not going to be financially, it's not going to be remunerating, but then they have this other occupation where they know that if they continue working, they're going to make a lot more money. So what would be your advice to those people sitting in the fence right now, not knowing what do they do? Pursue their passion as their career, or just kind of, and then if so, how long do they wait it out to kind of go on?
Well, I can feel for them because it's a difficult choice, given the fact that we are all part of an aspirational society, and we cannot insulate ourselves from what we see around us. So I understand that bit. But what I can share is perhaps my own experience. And I was fortunate that ever since I was a kid, I was hung up on fighter flying. A cousin of mine took me into a cockpit and seated me in a fighter cockpit, and I was hooked from that point onwards, and I thought of nothing else. And of course, I would have been gutted if during the selection process the doctors found that I didn't have the neuromuscular chops required to make the cut in fighter flying. But fortunately, that didn't happen. So what I'm getting at is that it took me into a career where I used to get up at 4 in the morning for the med brief, for a dawn strike, fly all day, maybe go up in the evening in low light conditions to simulate a dusk strike, fly at night when the moon is up, fly at night when the moon is not there, it's pitch dark. So these were very long hours, but not for once did I feel that I need some work-life balance. Agreed, the money wasn't good. But it was enough. I remember as young officers, we used to have beer only because we needed to sell those bottles at the end of the month to make 2 ends meet, But it worked out. And I think that when you are enjoying what you're doing, then you are most likely to excel in what you do. Otherwise, unlike the corporate sector, which say pays you a lot, but then you're likely to burn out. But there are some people who adopt a different approach, and they kill themselves till they are 40 and make their money and then do what they want to. But I think if you do that, if you're burnt out at 40, you're not going to last for very long thereafter to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So it's a difficult choice. But I would say if you want to stay long enough in your career, and if you want to enjoy what you're doing, and on top of that get paid for it, might as well follow your passion.
Very well said, sir. Sir, who has inspired you as a hero in your life? There must have been some role model to whom you've always looked up to. And what are those qualities that you imbibed to make you the person that you are today?
Very many people have inspired me. It starts off with my cousin, like I said. He's the one who fired the imagination, and I wanted to be who I became. Of course, he died a few months later in an air crash, but he's the guy I grew up wanting to be and do what he did. There were other characters. There was fictional character like Biggles, who's flying the Sopwith camel in the First World War, like Guy Gibson, a real-life character who was the squadron commander of the Dam Busters in the Ruhr Valley in the Second World War. Neville Duke, the hunter test pilot Gagarin, the one who started it all, spaceflight. Armstrong, the first guy to step on the moon. Leonov, the first guy to walk in space. Bruce McCandless, the first guy to walk in space untethered without being tied to the mothership. Wow. John Young, the fellow who did the first landing of the space shuttle on a runway coming back from space. So on a professional level, all these guys have inspired me. And on a personal level, Mahatma Gandhi, for the man he was, for his conviction. Jiddu Krishnamurti, for his message. So I'm very happy to have been influenced by these great guys. And
any particular quality about them that you have actually adapted in your lifestyle? Anything in particular?
I think self-belief. I think it's important to, I was like any other kid when I was young. I wanted to come across as a smart, funny, charismatic kid who everybody loved. And after a few years, I found that it takes some doing all the time to project yourself as somebody you would like others to see you. And then I realized that most everybody is like everybody else. That is brilliant at times, goofy at other times. So I think that realization was very liberating. And after that point, it was wonderful to stop posturing and to be yourself and understand that everybody has got different skill sets. So make peace with that fact, get comfortable in your skin, and I think once you do that, everything else falls into place. And you stand a much better chance of realizing your potential, whatever it be. Because if you realize your potential, you're going to achieve the maximum that you were destined to.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Especially when you don't compare yourself to somebody else.
That's it. Yeah, because you're not acting, you're just being
yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely. So as a patriot, your perspective on the lure of opportunities overseas, our children study so hard, and their application of knowledge to our beautiful country, as in the lure for them to go to the United States or Europe to kind of whatever they've studied here, or how they don't use that talent here. So what would be your advice as a patriot?
This is a real problem, and I would say that I'd be the last person to blame those who want to go abroad. Because there are better opportunities. And that is because I believe that our education system is so numerical today that it does not capture or encourage the thinking process, the analytical abilities. It never measures any of this. It never measures how theory is applied to real life. And if it doesn't do all of that, then obviously you cannot be the researcher you have the potential to be. You're not challenged enough. And I believe that is the problem in our country. That because my career, I've worked in the space field. I worked as a test pilot. I worked on the Tejas project, and I've worked closely with foreigners. And I find that I found, to my surprise, that again, when one entered into these equations, one thought that one is so inexperienced in this kind of a thing. But as work carried on, and one found that we Indians are quite capable of standing shoulder to shoulder.
Absolutely, I think even in Seattle, and I think Indians are doing really, really well.
Yeah, so I think so. So what we really need to do is to create that environment in our own country. And I think we need to start doing small things and achieve excellence for ourselves. And it's only when our excellence starts getting aggregated, then we will be able to create the environment and providing the kind of environment that is going to keep our bright folks within the country. Because it does great to see these minds who are being leveraged by other countries for the benefit of their populations, when our own population is really so much in need of the same kind of upliftment. Now here I'm not trying to be very nationalistic or anything, but this is a fact. So, if we can create that environment and that challenge, I'm sure we'll be able to retain our talent.
Our youngsters. So, sir, now this would be the last question. In fact, it's kind of a repeat to an earlier question, but then there must be some qualities or a little message, some pointers, if you could leave behind to my audience to say that probably if you follow this, it would help you in any hurdle that you might face or any challenge. So some pointers or some aspects of life which has helped you to overcome those challenges.
Well, I can, I guess, only paraphrase what I've said up till now. I've only shared with the audience, I hope, things which have worked for me. I don't intend to sound like Deepak Chopra. This is what has worked for me, and I believe that it's worth trying it out, because it's not rocket science. It's quite to be yourself, to accept who you are, to look for a job that interests you rather than only pays you. I think these things are important, and if we do this, everything else seems to fall in place. I can never call myself ambitious, I never was, but things just keep happening, I just have the good sense to volunteer when I was asked to volunteer and stuff like that. And I just didn't let opportunities pass me by, and it all fell into place.
I think that was so awesome, just hearing the legend speak.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.